Welcome to the Alien Probe podcast. 3 years ago, in a book entitled The Flying Saucers Are Real, I reported the results of my first investigation into this worldwide mystery. At that time, I stated my belief that the U.S. Air Force knew the answer and was hiding it from the public. Since July 1952 and a new investigation in the saucers, I have been privileged to cooperate with the U.S. Air Force. Because of my present understanding of their very serious problem and certain dangers inherent to the situation, I have been given information unknown to most Americans. That's an excerpt from Flying Saucers from Outer Space by Major Donald Kehoes, U.S. Marine Corps retired. And today I have, again, Dr. Bill joining me. Welcome, Bill. How's it going?
Hey, how you doing?
It looks like, we did this. This is our second time doing this, and hopefully this time it'll work. But it was nice chatting with you for an hour last week anyway.
Yeah. I'm actually I'm looking for the book right now, which I can't find.
Oh, damn it. You're not ready.
Well, I'm sort of ready. But it's funny because it's like the book was right here.
Yeah, so then...
keep going.
So anyway, this is Kehoes.
Right.
Bill, this is Kehoes' second book, right? He did Flying Saucers UFOs Are Real, or Flying Saucers Are Real was his first book, right?
Flying Saucers Are Real.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about how this is, what he's still with True Magazine, right?
Yeah, he's still with True Magazine. And this book is like 2 years later, and it's continuing the flying saucer story, because in the first book he was reporting on in 1949 there was a ton of flying saucer reports, and that's, I think, at the same time as when the Air Force started investigating flying saucers.
Yeah.
And so this other guy wrote a book, Scully, which you just picked up, called Behind the Flying Saucers, which is sort of an iffy book on UFOs. But I think because that was so popular and did so well, that Kehoes and True Magazine are like, there's something to the story and people are really interested in it, so let's work on it.
Right.
So True apparently brought Kehoes in to work on this because of his contacts with the military as a former pilot. He was actually, I just saw a thing recently in another magazine, because True came out with a True report on flying saucers in like 1966. And apparently Kehoes was a balloon pilot along with a airline pilot, or not an airline pilot, but a airplane pilot. Hang on just a sec.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting, because I was thinking, if he, they have all these pilots saying, or the Air Force is saying, no, they were seeing weather balloons. Well, here's Kehoes, who actually trained with balloons in the 20s when he was in the Marine Corps, Air Corps, beginning of the Air Corps. So I think he knows what a balloon looks like.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So in this book they report, it looks like various items that they've observed beyond what they reported in the original book, and some are also the same. Like behind the scenes, Laredo, Texas, blue lighted object conflict with F-51. And in January 9th, 1953, a B-29 in Santa Ana, a V formation of blue lights. And then October 29th, 1952, white, highly maneuverable craft. I mean, it just goes on. So what was he doing in the book? Is he, what was he, is he just reporting in the book what his observations from his experiences and his interviews with True?
Well, yeah. Well, what he's doing is that he goes to the Pentagon and he gets He goes to the press office and he asked for the ATIC reports, which is the Air Technical Intelligence Center reports on these sightings. And since one of the things that he emphasizes is that the people that he's talking to are very reliable witnesses, or the cases that he's pulling as reporting it are the ones with very reliable witnesses, with pilots and air traffic controllers and airport personnel, or even other people that the like Project Blue Book, or at that time whatever it was called, Project Grudge or something, Sign,
yeah.
They would interview people, but they'd also look into their background to find out if they were reliable witnesses, and they weren't just doing this to get attention, get press attention, and get paid for interviews or things like that. So all the cases that he reports, and he's done this. I was reading this True's Flying Saucer Report from 1966, which is a book length thing, and they this is the thing that he emphasizes, and he goes into more and more detail on these sightings, and he pushes the reliability of the witnesses. So this also ties in with Hynek, Professor Hynek.
Yeah.
And he was, excuse me, and Hynek actually, there was a quote in here, which I didn't mark it, so I can't find it, but I can summarize it. The quote was, Hynek was saying that a quote from Hynek said the witnesses are, he said they were very reliable, they're intelligent, to very intelligent people were seeing these things. And one of the articles in this other thing that I read, which I'm getting off topic from the book.
Yeah, that's fine.
But one of the articles was by a guy named Jacques Vallée. Jacques Vallée is the you saw Close Encounter? We've all seen Close Encounter.
Yes.
Okay, the French guy at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's based on Jacques Vallée, and Jacques Vallée also, I think, in the documentary where they have the guy at Stanford. Oh, what's his name? That'll come to me in a minute. But the guy at Stanford, I remember him when I was there. He was new. He was a new wonder kid when I was there, and I think Jacques, in the documentary on UFOs, Jacques Vallée goes to his lab with like samples that people say they found at UFO crash sites for analysis. And I just looked him up recently because I also just he's written a series of books. Although he gets off onto he goes from UFOs to strange sightings as potentially intradimensional devices or machines or whatever. But he also, this Vallée guy, wrote a book which is excerpted in this magazine about historical sightings, and some of the historical sightings are real fascinating. But he went. He's also apparently, this Jacques Vallée, I thought he was just like some UFO guy, but apparently he's an extremely successful venture capitalist that was involved in the development of the internet and communication stuff and all these things. So he's like he's a big wheel in Silicon Valley.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I didn't either. I it's real interesting. But there was something else. Oh, and the other thing that I saw, I was reading yesterday in this magazine, is they were saying that so Kehoe started this center called NICAP, which is to investigate UFOs.
Right.
And let me see if I can find the name of it. Oh, they have it in here. Major Kehoe. UFO Director of the National Investigation Committee on Aerial Phenomena in Washington, which I don't know if is still in existence. But he he's saying in this magazine that because of the reluctance of people to report sightings, especially people in professional positions, because of what he says is a campaign by the Air Force to discredit people that see UFOs.
Right.
That so his organization, people will come forward and make reports, whereas they wouldn't make reports, or they made official reports, which he says are concealed, and then they'll also send a report to his organization, which, like I said, I haven't looked to see if it's still in existence.
Huh.
So, but that also comes back to this book where he was talking about this interview, or they did a big press conference. Did you watch that movie?
Yeah, the
that
one
I
with
told?
the black and white one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
And they had in part of it, or at the very end, they had the general, and that was newsreel footage from this Air Force press conference.
Oh, no way! Wow.
Yeah, and it's just a few minutes after the press conference. So the movie, which was UFOs, what was it called? I'm not seeing it in my notes. UFOs, the real story of UFOs, or something. 1950.
Yeah, 57.
It's on 57. It's on YouTube.
Yeah, that's where I saw it.
Yeah, it's actually. I was really shocked to see that it's pretty good. What'd you think of the interviews of the guys?
No,
the two guys?
It's fucking wild. It's interesting. That this was out and nobody was this public, or where was this shown in 57? Do you know?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I didn't even know this thing existed until I was. I didn't even know how I found it. I think I was just doing a search, and I'm like, what is this? And then I watched it, and it had those guys that shot those movies of the UFOs.
Yeah.
And those movies are mentioned in this book, Flying Saucers from Outer Space. And they wouldn't release there was two movies. There was the one movie with just the two objects moving across the screen, and then there was the other movie with a bunch of objects sort of moving around randomly, except for the one.
Yeah, the footage, I mean, I know it wasn't faked, but it's, the quality for the time,
Well, the second one's supposed to be on color film, which you can't see from the black and white movie. But like they said, and that was the second one, they wouldn't, Kehoe was trying to get a look at it and get it released to look at him. And at that point, they didn't let him see it. Yeah. And the first one, they had actually, in the book, had discredited it and said that it was reflections from the water tower. Which, when you look at the film, the objects move behind the water tower. So if it was a reflection from the water tower that's in the foreground when he filmed it, the reflections would have moved in front of the water tower. So I don't know why they said that was, reflections from the water tower.
Well,
but the guys
they just have to say something, to discredit the whole thing. That was the gig back then. That's not real.
Yeah.
Not real.
Yeah. Oh, there's one of the other things that happened from looking at this old True report, and actually, this is sort of funny, and it made me thinking about the UFO pictures, because they have tons of UFO pictures in here, and the UFO pictures are always really crappy, or most of them, when you see them.
Yeah.
Which had me thinking about trying to take pictures of flying objects. And I've been thinking about it because, everybody has a phone now. And I've been thinking, well, when I'm outside with my phone and a plane flies over or something, I'm going to try and take a picture of it, because I want to see what it looks like and what sort of resolution and things like that are. Because I think that taking a picture of an object in the sky is really difficult.
Yeah.
And which is one of the reasons that these pictures are so crappy. But there's a great thing in here. I'm pulling it up. I'm looking it up. That there was a guy, an Italian guy, took a picture. Him and his wife were hiking on a glacier in Italy, probably northern Italy, and they said that they saw a UFO land, and he had a camera with him, a decent camera with him. I'm trying to look it up.
I've heard of that
And
story, and it's like, yeah, so what happened? He didn't get.
well, he took. You can see the pictures online. You can fly the deck, and then they took a series of pictures of this UFO, and it looks like UFO. It looks like a guy in a clunky space suit or like a toy robot or something, and a flying saucer.
Yeah.
So he took these pictures, and they're really good pictures. And then he took them to had them developed, or they got developed, and told people about it. And then he sold the pictures to a magazine. And oh yeah, here it is. It's Maguzzi. What does he say? Oh, it goes all the way back to page 11. So he's. I want to give his full, because if you can always look up his pictures, and they're online. Oh yeah, here he is. His name is. Well, they wrote a lot about this guy. Gianpietro Monguzzi and his wife were mountain climbing in northern Italy, and they were struggling up the Churchian Glacier, and they saw this, UFO, and they hit the deck, and he had a good camera with him. He took pictures, and it's really, you look at the pictures, they're really clear pictures.
Right.
So he told people about it, and then he sold the pictures to a magazine. The magazine didn't tell him they were going to do this, so the magazine published magazine told them they were going to publish the pictures, but they published the pictures, and they captioned them as fake UFO pictures.
Oh, with his name.
The guy with his name.
Oh,
the guy
nice.
got fired. His boss fired him, and he said he was unemployed for a year and a half after that.
Yeah, that's nice.
So there's this thing about UFO pictures. It's the UFO picture paradox. If they're really good pictures, everybody says they're fake. So you have really good pictures, or you have these really sort of fuzzy pictures with,
Yeah.
So you lose either way. If you have a picture, it's either going to be real fuzzy, and they're going to go, oh, it's fuzzy and it's fake, or it's going to be really good, and they're going to say, oh, it's definitely fake.
Yeah.
So you can't win.
Yeah.
You can't win.
I know there's that one that looks like a upside down crock pot that's really fuzzy. That was like a real famous one.
Yeah.
I remember that one. That was like the one I remember as a kid. Holy crap. That thing. That's real.
I think that's the picture on the cover of this magazine I'm looking at.
Yeah.
So hey, I got a couple of questions. You said you sent a text that said that one of your podcasts was a big download in China?
No, it's India.
India. Oh, okay. I thought, all right.
India has almost, well, we're listened to in, you heard my spiel in Robert's podcast, where we're listened to in 38 countries, 41 U.S. states, and 114 U.S. cities. But India is, and it's climbing. It's going to exceed the amount of U.S. downloads. And I've heard that, we love India, but I've heard that there's a lot of public transportation. They just, but I listen to his podcast in my truck when I'm driving. And I mean,
everybody,
go ahead.
Everybody has to commute. So everybody is listening to something.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of curious, but I guess there's a lot more concentration maybe of people over there that are, on trains, and maybe it's more popular over there due to that. I've asked and pleaded that they would contact us on alienpropodcast@gmail.com and just say, this is what we like, this is what we want to hear, this is what, maybe there's something we don't like. We know, I'm open to anything, but yeah, you're right. It's India. In Robert's in Robert's podcast, Armageddon Dance Party, he's just France. A lot of French people like that one, and I don't. And he hasn't figured that one out yet either, because he hasn't had any communication with anyone from over there. So I
Huh.
mean, they can email. I mean, I know you can email internationally.
Oh
You know,
yeah. No,
so
that's not that's
you know,
trivial.
so I don't know if somebody thinks I'm going to make fun of them or something. I mean, I won't give it. You know,
People are
yeah,
busy. People
yeah,
are
I
just
know.
busy.
I'm not. I'll listen to you. I just don't want to talk to you. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, as long as you're listening, it's not a big deal. I'm just curious. I'm not concerned about it. I'm
well,
just curious to
well,
know what's up.
maybe there's now. Is it a particular episodes, or is there sort of a
No,
general thing
it's
that?
all over the board because I get the analytics. It's all over the board, and it's all over India.
Huh.
Um, it's not like it's. I could almost bring it up here.
Like
Hold
one,
on.
like not like one. Don't touch anything. Don't
No,
change
I'm
the.
not. I'm on my tablet. I'm on my tablet. I'm scared now. I don't want to
Okay.
touch anything. Because I can go to this. They have states, and then it's 53 of their states,
Uh-huh.
and 711 downloads.
Wow.
And
Wow.
whereas in the U.S. I told you that, but we're at 765, and they're rapidly, and I mean rapidly, overtaking the U.S. in downloads.
Huh.
It's incredible. I mean, it's I can't figure it out. Robert's jealous because ours is much more popular than his podcast. But as I explained, we're a team, so it's
Just don't
fine. And he just
just
started.
just just don't mention John.
Yeah, we don't. No, we can't mention my son Johnny. Johnny's
No,
here. Johnny's here right now too. By the way, he's
what, in the room with you?
no, he's downstairs putting a new seat cover for his motorcycle he just bought.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
he's doing
working,
that. Yeah,
doing
he's
stuff.
working that. His motocross
Oh,
stuff.
okay. Cool.
He bought a new Husqvarna 450 from his with some money he got from the company. So so
Good.
he's happy.
Good.
So everything's going well. Yeah, it's Robert. Dirted me for.
I got to see that on his stand up.
It was a 2-second thing, and he kind of like, my dad is my. First of all, he didn't mention my correct age, which we won't mention here, but he did that, and then he said, my dad decided to do a new podcast, and since he doesn't know shit about computers, I have a new podcast. Well, it did get a lot of laughs, so I'm not, it did get a lot.
It's a good joke. That's a good joke.
It is a really, and he's up in he's up in Seattle doing. I would mention the. Anyway, he gets like a couple minutes. Yeah, they draw numbers out of a hat.
Yeah. They I know how the comedy clubs do as an up and coming stand up comedian.
Yeah.
You go to the club, you say, I want a gig, and so they do a random drawing or whatever, and you get a slot, and then you go up and you do your 2 minutes or 3 minutes of material to work it.
Yeah, and he.
That is a good joke, though.
I laughed. I thought it was.
Yeah, I did too.
He did warn me though. He said, "I'm gonna talk about this at some point on my stand-up," and I said, "You know what? Like you saw in." His podcast where I was on. I mean, we make fun of each other. I said, you're a really good trainer because when I have a question as to what's going on here, you say, just look it up on Google. I go, you know what?
Yeah. Just Google it.
At work, I have IT people. I just call them. I mean, aren't you my guy? Aren't you my IT guy? So, just figure it out. That's why we have problems like we had last week because we just figured it out. I don't know if it was. Hopefully this will work. I told Dan, I said, he's probably not going to do this again if we talk for an hour and it doesn't record. So I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if I can get that other computer from my son, I will do a upgrade on that. And I think
I'll let you record it, and you can just email it to me, and I'll give it.
If I can, I need to sit down and figure it out. If I can do that, I sat down and out how I could sort of do like a backup recording on this side, but I sort of looked around a little bit, and then I just gave up. But I'll look into that. I'll see what I can do.
Yeah,
But I really want to get that other computer because I can do a nice upgrade on it, and I think it'll make a nice little setup here. And my laptop, like I mentioned before, my laptop, I have an older operating system on it, and I don't want to upgrade it because I use Mathematica on it, which is a mathematical program, and I'm using an older version. And if I upgrade my operating system, it won't work anymore, and it's a pricey program. I don't want to buy a new program, an updated version of the program just yet. I will eventually, but I want to wait a little while, so I can't upgrade my operating system. But I can do it on the other computer, which is just sitting idle. But I have to. My son has a bunch of music and videos that he's done and photos and all that stuff. He needs to pull those off, and he doesn't trust me to, I guess, see what he's done.
Oh, who knows?
Well, I offer just to back it up and just give him the backup, and he could pull the files, but he just wants to do it. So I'm sort of stuck until the end of the school semester. So, anyway, let's get back to UFOs. We can talk about our personal lives.
Yeah, we can talk about our personal lives anytime. So there's all these he mentions all these to the book. Mentions all the various sightings, and there was one here that said, I don't know which the colors were. It was like a blue. I've got it highlighted here, but it's got a blue and white light. I was up at 49,000 feet, and I saw, a large object, blue and white. I don't know what the colors were, but it's the same colors that actual aircraft use, on their wings. The wingtip lighting.
They have little blue lights on the. Well, they have a red and a
white, or no, red and blue.
Blue? Was it? Are they red and green?
It's red and green. It's right here. It's red and green, and then the white
boats are red and green.
Well, I think it's aircraft too, though. I was looking it up.
Okay.
But green and white, and then there's a green and white. I mean, that's a plane, it's either a plane. Or it's either a plane or it's a ship from the future that uses clearance lights. Because we haven't changed and that's what I've always said. If you see a UFO with light, why would a UFO have lights on it anyway?
Oh, navigation lights. Why would they have navigation lights?
Or any kind of light. I mean, other than the propulsion, the big, the circular propulsion light that it has like a blurry light on the bottom, which they say has something to do with the propulsion of the UFO itself.
Yeah, that was they talked about that in the book when he was talking to the Canadian guy.
Yeah.
I'm pulling that up because I'm glad I don't know what I did with the book. I have a stack of UFO books now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I can tell you. I'll tell you the titles Here's a stack of books I got. Well, I have an old one that I've had forever, which was written by Carl Sagan and some Russian guy, which I can't read the name from here, but it's Intelligent Life in the Universe, which is pretty cool. We should talk about that. I got The Edge of Reality by Hynek and Vallée, who is that Silicon Valley guy. I got Aliens from Space, which I'm not sure who wrote that. I got Flying Saucers, Top Secret by Kehoe. I got Flying Saucers Confidential, which you just bought a copy of, I know.
Yeah, it's on its way.
Yeah. I haven't really looked at that one, and hopefully that one won't fall apart on you. I got the UFO Experience, a Scientific Inquiry. I got Unbroken Promises, which we talked about. We need to read. We should talk about that again.
Yeah, that's
the book. I think
Gulf Breeze 6, right?
Yeah, I think that's going to be interesting. I sent you a copy of that, and I think that reading that versus just going through all the
Well,
reports online.
there were no answers to there were. I mean, this is
No,
probably, you know, we need to know the inside. So all we saw was, all these different reporting things that really didn't give us an inside story of what was going on. It was all from exterior. Even the guy
oh
that
yeah,
knew, even the
yeah.
guy that knew. Anyway, we should stick to the what we got
Well,
going.
yeah, yeah. We'll go through the book, and then we'll actually be able to sort of do a more of an analysis. But part of the things in that book is like one of the things that I learned from it, along with some of the other material that the person that I bought it from sent me, is that there's these people that do channeling or communication. They do like psychic communication with space aliens,
Oh,
which comes back to sort of like the spiritualism at the beginning of the 20th century, which was a big deal, where people would have seances and stuff. I think that's sort of the modern, or at least 80s and 90s sort of, or 70s maybe, modern equivalent of that spiritualism. Oh, they also had it was like the past life stuff. Remember that was big?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, anyway, more of the books that I picked up is Flying Saucers from Outer Space. I got The World of Flying Saucer. Why'd I got that one? I got Report on Unidentified Flying Objects. I got Behind the Flying Saucers. I have a book that I just pulled out of my library that I've been sitting around, which is called Where Is Everybody?, which is about the Fermi paradox, which I've been thinking about a little bit because Enrico Fermi, who's a physicist at University of Chicago, who also worked on the Manhattan Project, and I think he was the guy that who built the first nuclear pile. They have a monument, which is a sculpture that looks like an atomic explosion. They call it the eyeball.
Oh, no
At
way.
the at the university, at the location where they built the first atomic pile, underneath the bleachers of the I don't know what field it was, one of the play fields out there, like football or something. And so Fermi was there, and Fermi actually sat down with some people at one point, and they were talking about, I think, aliens and stuff. And Fermi's like, "Where are they?"
Yeah.
And they were like, "Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "Well, if you figure out the net, you just take sort of even a slow speed. You take a intelligent species that is traveling at a slow speed, even between suns. Given the age of the universe, alien intelligent life should be all over the place."
Yeah.
So the question is either, and people talk about this, the question is either we're unique, although I want to go in greater depth on that, and that's something we can talk about in the future. Either we're unique, we're it, which I think is highly improbable,
Right.
or it's extremely rare to the point where intelligent life hasn't spread out to the universe, or they're already here. So, take your pick. But it's an interesting topic, and a lot of people have spent a lot of time thinking about what they call it, the Fermi paradox, because they should already be here.
Right.
And yeah.
Well,
and then
we've got the planet that our environment, is suitable for life. I mean, I've seen I watch those things on history where the universe, why isn't Mercury suitable for life? Well, there could be life based on whatever environment is there. They can stand the heat. They could that environment's suitable to them. But they said that probably highly unlikely because it's just
extreme.
It's so hostile. It's just too hostile. Mars, I think. What do you think about Mars? Was there human life, or not human life? Was there any kind of life there before?
Well, actually, I actually think that yes, I do. I think there's probably, once they can look around a little better, and the new Perseverance rover seems to be pretty slick. I think we will discover that there was life on Mars, because it's got has water. Apparently, there's plenty of water on Mars.
Right.
Oh, have you been watching For All Mankind?
Yep.
That
The alternate.
oh, that's so
Uh,
cool.
yeah, it is very cool. I mean,
It's the
it's
what it's the what it's what should have happened.
yeah,
Yeah, and I don't know what happened with our sort of drive for exploration and stuff. There's I read this book on Elon Musk,
yeah,
an older biography. I don't know how old it is. It's like 5 or 10 years ago. And the guy that wrote it had a great sentence in there which stuck with me. And he said, he goes, NASA, he goes, how could NASA take something so exciting and make it so boring?
yeah. I would have to agree with
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
So, yeah, I love that show because it's just like it's what should have been, and there's no reason that things didn't come out that way. Um, but yeah, there's water on the moon for years. There's some things that were so that I've followed this stuff probably a little closer than you have, but they used to say for a long time, and I think after the Apollo 11, the moon landings, they were saying, well, water is very rare in the solar system. So that was a thing that they were throwing out. And the thing about water, as came out in the show For All Mankind, is with water on the moon means you make your own fuel. So it
Right.
means it's you can almost make a self-sustaining colony, basically. And the same thing's true with Mars. There's good evidence of water on Mars, but I think that there has been past life on Mars. The old Viking lander, I think that was the one. Can't remember. They actually did a test which came up positive for life, and then they came up with alternative explanations for why that wasn't active, like microbes on the surface of Mars.
Yeah, I think that's one of the stories was that it was contaminated by Earth.
Well, that's yeah.
You know.
They threw. So that was interesting. So they threw that out. Said no, that's they debunked. That's a big
Yeah.
word these days. They
Yeah.
debunked it. But then a few years ago, other people were coming back and looking at the results and the tests and saying, well, you can't debunk it 100%. Maybe this was a good indicator. So maybe we'll see something better with the Perseverance. See something happen. So I don't know. I think there may not be life on Mars right now. They will definitely find evidence of past life. They'll find something. And when
Right.
I was at University of Chicago, there was a new professor that came in, and he was I can't remember. I ended up helping him because he was new, and there was something crazy going on with the ventilation in his lab. And what he did is guys that for past fossilized life.
Yeah.
So and that's how I ended up talking to him. He was like I he said, "Oh yeah, I work on meteorites." And I said, "Oh, like the Martian meteorite, which was in the news, big deal." And he goes, "Oh yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing."
Oh wow.
So and yeah, and then I didn't really talk to him a lot, but I talked to him at that, and then at one point he was having a real serious issue which is critical for his lab, with some sort of ventilation problem, and I got pulled in to help with that. I think just because he needed an extra pair of hands. So, but yeah, really smart guy, really interesting stuff, and that stuff falls in the same category as the Viking data, where people looked at it and they said, "Oh, this is great. This is definitely looks like what it is." And then you have people that come in and say, which is the way the scientific method works, you got to look at all sides of the problem and critique it.
Right.
So
Why do you think we want to colonize Mars before we want to colonize the moon? Why do we got to hit the home run? Because wouldn't you want to do it a little? Wouldn't you want to practice a little closer to home?
yeah, yeah. They're laying it out on that TV show. They're laying it. This is what.
Yeah.
It's been awesome. It's been awesome that we've had a space station up there for I don't know how long at this point. But the problem is that the space station is boring as hell.
Yeah.
All you need is a little boost from the space station, they could take, they could modify the Soyuz capsules, or even, whatever, and all you need is a little boost. It'll get you to the moon. I mean, there's no reason that we have not had bases on the moon doing research, at least.
Well,
and now the Chinese and the Russians have just signed a joint agreement for a moon base.
Yeah, I don't know what it's obviously political, but I mean, it stands to reason you would colonize there first for practice, so you can make all the mistakes closer to Earth, and have risk, being able to get back here if something happens, being able to get back, or have medical facilities there, which wouldn't be that big of a stretch to take care of things, So
all you need a trained doctor, and you need equipment, and they can cover. A trained doctor can deal with 90% of any medical emergency that happened, and anything else, it's only 3 days. It's a 3-day journey back. So if you're not in that bad a shape, they can get you home.
Now, it was 3 days back in the Apollo days, right?
Yeah.
When you think that Elon could come up with something a little faster?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, could maybe cut it to 2. I don't know, but maybe you have to slow it. I don't know. It's like one of those things where you gotta go fast till halfway, then you're just coasting for the rest of the way, because you don't want to overtake the runway.
Yeah, well, basically they just boost up to a certain speed, and then
just like glides.
And then you let the moon. Then you have to boost down to let the moon's gravity catch you, because you can't go too fast.
Yeah, so skip off. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. You're a scientist.
Yeah, but I'm not a physicist.
Yeah.
So anyway, that show. I've been watching that show, and that's really hitting me hard. You look at stuff. We grew up with this stuff, and you just look at this. It's like, what have we been doing?
Yeah, it's depressing. Really, it's kind of like we wanted, you and I know we've always talked about our, known each other all our lives. And it's kind of like we've always talked about space. I couldn't go in I'm a little bit claustrophobic. I couldn't stuff myself in that thing, and it would have to be at least an airliner. But knowing I was going to be in that airliner 3 days, I don't know. I know if I'm going across to the U.S. to fly, I can handle it. I'll be out in a few hours, but to be there 3 days, I don't know if I can take it. I'll stay.
Have you been to like Cape Canaveral or the Smithsonian and see the Apollo capsule?
I haven't, and Deb and I definitely are planning to go back there to do. I have to see. I have to see the Air and Space Museum.
There's the one in the Smithsonian. If they ever open up DC again, I guess it's closed for a while. The Air and Space Museum is definitely worth visiting.
Due to COVID.
I mean, I loved it.
You have to say due to COVID.
Well, it's also due to the political situation. I think there's a big fence around DC now or something.
Oh,
where
really?
They have.
Nice.
Yeah, they got a fence around the Capitol, and they got all these unarmed national. You can relate to this. Unarmed National Guard troops protecting the Capitol.
Great.
Yeah. I actually liked it when I was in that they were actively afraid to give us ammunition.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, no, we don't want to arm you.
Well,
but you've spent all this time training us to use this, but you won't give us any ammunition.
Honestly, it's okay for you and me to have it, but for some of the people we knew, we probably don't want them to have live ammo. They'd end up shooting. Probably end up shooting themselves.
Yeah. So anyway, the Air and Space Museum is definitely worth going to. But if you've seen, you can also. I went down when we first came out here to Florida. We went down to Cape Canaveral and did a tour, and they have a sort of an outside area, and they have it's not really a space capsule, but it's a model that's the same size as the Apollo space capsule that you can climb into.
Oh yeah, they close the door so I can freak out.
No, there's no door on it. It's like a kid's. It's like a kid's play area. It's like for kids and stuff, but it's a life-size model of this. It's not really a kid's play area, but it's sort of like a jungle gym type thing. But it's got the shell, and it's got seats in it, and you can climb in it, and you can sit in basically a mock-up of the Apollo capsule. Those things are tiny, and if you go to the Smithsonian, you look on the inside, they're absolutely tiny, and it's like you watch these movies and stuff, and they look sort of roomy. They're not. So if you're claustrophobic, imagine spending a week packed into this thing.
Nah, ain't gonna happen.
Yeah,
it's I'll stay here.
You're gonna have to be you're good friends with your co-pilots.
Yeah, no, ain't gonna happen.
So there's one other thing I wanted to mention, and then we should talk about the book some more. Is in this Flying Saucer magazine, Kehoe has a couple articles in here, and he was talking about stuff that's reported, and it's articles titled "Down, Down, Down with Censorship." And here's I'm going to read this to you. I'm going to read 3 paragraphs. This is the first 3 paragraphs of this article. It goes, "I'm going to tell an eerie story, labeled a rumor by the Air Force, which you haven't heard before. The fact that you haven't heard it, haven't been allowed to hear it, is as frightening as the story itself. On April 8, 1964, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration launched from Cape Kennedy the first 2-man Gemini capsule, a crucial step in our effort to land an astronaut on the moon. The capsule went into its planned orbit around the Earth, and sensitive instruments began gathering data that would reveal flaws and point out possible improvements in the design. This first test flight was a great success. You read about it next morning in your paper." I wonder if this was manned. I'd have to look that up. But there was something you... Huh?
Which one was it? Gemini 1?
Gemini, April 8th, 1964, Gemini. You gonna look it up?
No, go ahead. We'll figure it out.
Okay. Yeah, we'll figure it out. But there was something you didn't read. The report was given to me confidentially by 2 scientists present at the test. The Gemini capsule was still in its first orbit when 4 spacecraft of unknown origin flew up to it.
Oh, shit.
While startled radar trackers watched their screens in open-mouthed amazement, the 4 took up positions around the capsule.
And boy, I got some tea to spill. Let me tell you.
What's going on? Hello?
Hello.
What was that?
I opened up my Safari and it started talking on this. I'm like, whoa.
Let me tell you.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. Oh, wow.
Hello,
girls.
Hey.
I don't know who's been listening to that on the phone. I was trying to look up the Gemini thing. I better leave that alone.
Yeah, don't touch anything. Remember last week. All right, so the Gemini capsule was still in its first orbit when 4 spacecraft of unknown origin flew up to it. While startled radar trackers watched their screens in open-mouthed amazement, the 4 took up positions around the capsule, 2 above, 1 beneath, 1 aft. Whoever was inside those strange craft appeared to be inspecting the capsule minutely and with care. They drew close to the capsule and paced it for a full orbit of the Earth. Then, apparently finished with their scrutiny, they pulled away and vanished into the unknown. So anyway, yeah, that's sort of interesting if it's true. I think, but Kehoe's he seems pretty straightforward. And he talked about another thing that I thought you would like. The Mantell crash?
Yeah, the F-51.
Yeah, P-51. Kehoe says that there was a second one where an aircraft interacted with the UFO and that the plane disappeared over Lake Superior.
And the UFO.
And the UFO, yeah.
Yeah, I read that, and they were trying to get down to this thing, and it's like you can't. I was wondering why they couldn't get down. I think they found the plane, but they didn't find the UFO, or maybe the government did, and they pulled it out of there. Who knows?
Who knows? But yeah, they think that the crash, the plane was sent in pursuit of this UFO.
Right.
And the radar, what he says in this, the radar images merged, and then then disappeared.
Yeah, they both fell. Well, the story is they both fell into Superior. So
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. Yeah, I don't really. That was a weird one. It's another opportunity for us to be able to actually put our hands, the public, to put our hands on a UFO. This thing maddens me that, well, I don't know if it maddens me. It's like, why haven't, with people everywhere, I mean, do we really have the ability to keep people quiet about this stuff to the extent that, we can't just show us one? Will people freak out now? You think people will freak out if okay, they're real? Here's one right here. Here's another one. We found these, and here's some aliens. And do you think people would freak out? Some people would, yeah.
These days, I don't know. I don't think so because I mean, we've been presented with the idea of like aliens, space travel, and all this stuff with all this like Star Wars and Star Trek and all these other science fiction shows. So, but it's interesting because that sort of like ties into like the Bob Lazar story. He says that where the implication is that all his like school records and his past have sort of been erased as punishment for coming out with this stuff. So
I mean, the government could do whatever they want. I mean, I suppose I would hope that I understand, but back then why they would do that. But these days, it's kind of like, how do you keep people? Nobody keeps quiet on anything anymore
these days. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like the old days where people are really scared of the government. Now it's like they're not, and they probably should be, but they're not. They'll just say whatever. You know what I mean?
Well, we've also sort of had this history of people being labeled as nutcases if they talk about UFOs and things like that. And there's that Kehoe in these newer articles that I was just reading. A lot of people have just been disincentivized for talking about it because it's like, oh, there's something wrong with you if you do that.
You're a nut.
And yeah. Well, he talked about. Did you watch the Kehoe interview with Mike Wallace?
No, I didn't see that one yet.
Okay.
I am going to. Though.
Well, it's not that long, but you should check it out. But he talked about it because Mike Wallace sort of brings it up. I said, so people saying they see UFOs are nutty or something or frauds. Yeah. And then Kehoe pushed back and says, he goes, are you calling me a fraud? He goes, no, I'm not calling you a fraud. But Kehoe, I mean, that's one of the things he constantly reinforces is the quality, reliability of the people that have done these sightings. And it's pilots and more pilots and Air Force pilots and people with a lot of experience and people with a reputation of being honest. And
has Kehoe himself did he see a UFO himself? Did
I
miss that? So
no, he never has. He never has.
So he's kind of like us.
Yeah. No, he's exactly like us. But coming back, supposedly, and I don't know if I haven't followed up on this, but it's what it says in the Wikipedia article on Jacques Vallée. It says that I say it with a French accent. Jacques Vallée.
Yeah, you
Jacques Vallée.
I know.
They say, huh?
I know you took French in high school. I know.
Yeah, I took it a little bit. I've been studying it again.
I took Spanish. I got a D. I can still count. That's about it.
Yeah, I think were we in the same class? We weren't in the same.
I had Spanish. You had French.
No, I had Spanish in high school. I don't think we had the same class.
No,
French was in. I had French in seventh. What's that?
I would have had you help me. I really struggled with it.
Oh no, I struggled with it too. I had French in seventh grade.
Overachiever.
I didn't. Yeah. And I remember nothing. I remember nothing. It's like with Spanish too. Spanish is a little better, but for French, I know nothing. But I'm enjoying looking at it again. But it's like in the Kehoe book, the Flying Saucers from Outer Space, they had that interview or not press conference at the Pentagon,
right?
And then the New York Times, after the press conference, the New York Times headline was Air Force debunks saucers as just natural phenomenon.
Right.
And then the Washington Post said saucer blips over Capitol laid to heat. Laid to heat. What a great title. And they're saying it's just like, so the response to that is Kehoe had talked to a couple pilots after that, a couple of Air Force guys, and they're like, or airline pilots. He says, I'm never going to report anything again.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah, it had a negative effect on pilots reporting UFOs. You know, they keep silent. That's something that's held true all the way to, I think, until recently, where they're encouraging. I don't know if they're encouraging pilots to report now, whatever it is. You know, you heard about the one where the airline pilot had the thing that flew over the top just recently, within the last.
Just month. Recently, yeah.
Flew a cylindrical object, flew right over the top of him.
Yeah.
But he said it had fire coming out of the back. Anytime I hear fire coming out of the back, I think missile. You know.
Well, I've been rethinking that because I've been looking at reports and different reports and stuff. And there's one I just read with something landed on a highway in South Africa and then took off and like melted the tarmac. Some people said it was just somebody set the road fire, but a road, I don't know, a guy that's an expert on roads, whatever you call those, civil engineer looked at it and said a gas fire would not have caused this much damage.
Yeah, but any air breathing engine in an aircraft is probably going to be earthly, I would think, unless, you know, it just expends too much fuel. It's not efficient for that. You know what I mean? I can't believe aliens would be like, yeah, let's build an engine that uses, you know, nitrogen, whatever they use for
oxygen or methane is what.
Yeah. So it's like, what, you know, they've got all this technology and it's like they want to screw around with fire. You know, well,
there's also the possibility that it's secret advanced technology.
Sure.
It's like, did you see the sightings about the guy in the jetpack over LA?
Yeah, he's approaching the air. There's a couple of them. Yeah. So Elon Musk, it's right by his factory. That's what Robert and I surmise it's Elon just out for a ride.
He's out checking out, testing the new equipment.
All right, we're back, buddy. We're going to have to wrap it up. You ready? Okay. Thank you for joining me. Thanks for listening to the latest episode of the Alien Probe podcast. We welcome comments, questions, or requests to, and Indy, I'm talking to you, alienprobepodcast@gmail.com. Visit us at Facebook at The Alien Probe Podcast, our website at alienprobe.net, Twitter and Instagram at alienprobepod. Find us on all major podcast networks. Thanks again to our senior producer, Robert Anthony. Until next time.